Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. Possible affair many years ago. Me 72M, and my wife 68F, have been married for over 40 years. For the most part it's been typical of most long-term marriages with their ups and downs. We have weathered many things together, including the sudden death of an infant grandchild. The last few years have been incredible, including, believe it or not, our sex life. Having said all that though, about 3 weeks ago my wife said something of a personal nature to me that really hurt my feelings pretty bad, and it released a flood of repressed emotions I had held in for over 35 years. Feelings of inadequacy, pain and helplessness. At that time I was working and commuting a long way every day trying to make a living for my family. I would usually leave at 6 a.m. and get home at 6:15 p.m. take the kids, at that time about 9 and 7 boys, to practice, eat and go to bed. My wife's family lives in another state and usually we try to go there a couple of times a year to visit. On this particular visit I was not allowed to go due to work. My wife and 2 boys went down and I was glad for them to be able to visit. Usually my wife will call every other day to tell me about her day and what's going on with everybody. Remember, this was pre-cell phone and social media, which she did the first week. Her parents had just started a new venture into ceramics where they would pour liquid clay into molds, let them dry, then take them out to dry so they could sell them at trade shows for people to buy so they can paint and glaze them. Her parents had gotten a person to help them set up the business. I'll call him TJ. He had previous experience in doing this and also designed his own molds to use. Well, after the first week of being there I didn't get any calls. I would have to initiate the call. Whenever I talked with my wife the conversation changed from talking about her family or the boys to TJ, what he was making or what he was doing. That gave me a weird feeling right then. Well, the conversations the next week became shorter and more detached. When it was time to come home she called and said she had decided to stay another week or so. I was adamant and told her no, she needed to come home now. I met her parents halfway at a hotel to pick her up and the kids to take them back home. She would hardly look at me and looked resentful for being there. When we got back home she continued to seem depressed and distracted. Our reunion sex was passionless. Then my youngest son said something that tore my heart out. He said he thought he saw mommy kiss another man. I knew at that point what I had suspected, that she was carrying on an affair, either EA or PA. I was still so shocked to think my conservative wife could do such a thing to me in such a short period of time, and I was so petrified of losing my 2 boys that I rug swept it. I'm sure if this happened today with social media and texting we would not be together today. I'm not sure if she called him on the phone or not. I didn't check the call logs and he eventually moved on, but for the next close to a year I had to put up with emotional distancing and poor communication. She had a very close friend that she confided things in. I know she had a long talk with her and actually spent the night over there. When my wife came back, it was like a different person. She was more attentive to me and the boys, and the sex was more frequent and passionate. I think her friend told her how stupid she was acting and how grateful she should be to have a husband that loved her and was that devoted to her. Here's my problem: like I said, I didn't even know I harbored these feelings of betrayal and inadequacy after all these years. Her behavior since her talk with her friend has been exemplary. However, I can't shake these feelings of me being the backup plan and the fact that she never confessed to me her feelings for another man and to what extent. I'm like any other guy. I'm not sure it got physical, but realistically she was a grown woman with 2 small children, not a silly teen. I would have liked for her to confess and give me the option to forgive or leave instead of confessing to her friend and moving on. My question is, at my age, do I let these feelings subside into oblivion again given the vast amount of time that have passed, or do I open up this can of worms? Well, you already said that you can't stop thinking about it. For the years that you have left, could you live like that? I would like to know personally. Best of luck to you. Also, update me PLS. This is a tough one, and I'm leaning towards bringing it up. The reasons why are, 1, you know it happened, just not exactly what. So there is no chance you're accusing her of something that did not happen. 2, the can of worms is already open for you. Now that those feelings are unburied, they are going to come out, either openly or with you getting resentful and being distant, irritable or something else negative. 3, she already chose you for 35 years. She has proved, it sounds like, that she can be faithful and committed. Before you bring it up, though, be prepared. Mentally prepare to hear some hard things and to have some hard weeks and months. You may feel like you're starting at zero, like you've gone back 35 years and it's all completely fresh. Decide ahead of time whether you're staying together no matter how this goes down. What happens if she doubles down and lies about it? What happens if there was more to it than you knew? What happens if you find out she was unfaithful more than once? I would highly recommend reading John Gottman's book Making Love Last prior to going down this path. Finally, before you start the conversation, please find a couples counselor if you don't already have one. A good one can really help you navigate these tough waters. Best of luck to you and please update us. Bring it up, get some answers. It's eating you up inside and that won't stop until you either get answer or move on. Since it doesn't seem like you will be moving on from her, you need to get those answers. Talk to her. Your resentment will only deepen now that you've been triggered. Just be prepared you'd be opening up Pandora's box. She is your wife. Tell her everything you told us and how you have been affected. It will be okay. She will apologize and you will get it off your chest. Never too old or too late to bring it up. I remember a news article about a man in his 90s that divorced his wife after finding out about an affair she had 70 years ago. I think that just by writing this out has been somewhat cathartic and I feel somewhat better about it. It's not like these feelings have been lingering in the back of my mind all these years. They were actually non-existent. I have no clue as to why those distant memories cropped up. I did have a feeling during our first 10 years of marriage she was always thinking she could have maybe done better for herself. After all, we had our first child 9.5 months after we were married. We both had to work to make ends meet and 2 years later we had another child. I think she got to thinking, is this all there is to life? And that opened her up for this guy that was creative and working in a field that was exciting to my wife so he could exploit the situation. Having said that, since her turnaround 36 years ago we have been extremely compatible. These last few years of semi-retirement have been filled with travel and as much sex as we've ever had. I guess I need to put my big boy britches on and just thank God I've had such a wonderful wife for so long and just resign myself to the fact that nothing is perfect and I'm not going to ever get that remorseful apology from her. About 8 years ago we went on a cruise, my first, and while we were on it I sat out on the deck by myself for a long time writing to my wife, children, and grandchildren trying to give them some advice and how much I loved them and how they needed to take care of each other. To my wife I expressed how much I loved her and how I appreciated her being with me. I sealed them up in envelopes, told my wife about them but not what was in them. Told her to hand them out after my death. I may add an addendum to hers to let her know I knew about them and how it made me feel, but that I forgave her and was thankful she chose to stay with me. Not sure yet, but I'm ready to forget this now and move on. After all, if I can suppress it another 36 years I'll be happy with that, lol. If I were you I would try to let it go. Talk to her, if you think it'll help, but try to let it go. Don't let this ruin the years you could enjoy with your wife. I would also look into why you're suddenly hung up on this that happened so many years ago. It could be an early sign of dementia. You said it started by something your wife said, but I would analyze this closer, if I were you. I've unfortunately seen almost this situation unfold to someone close to me. She was suddenly accused of something that may or may not, and probably no, have happened years ago. Her husband started getting aggressive and it turned out it was a type of dementia. She slowly lost him, and what really ate her soul was this accusation. No. Those red flags happened. The distance, depression, passionless sex, resentful attitude, and the fact that my little boy saw mommy kiss someone. All of this went on for a good year until she resolved it in her head to recommit to our marriage. I guess I'm just hung up on her never coming to me and expressing remorse and to give me a chance to tell her how much she hurt me. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.